Hey there everybody, I hope you are having a wonderful day. My name is Daniel, and in this video I'm going to be talking about a pretty serious topic that doesn't really get much illumination because I believe that a lot of people just don't believe in it, or they haven't really had real encounters with these sort of things. So that's why I'm dedicating this video to dark spirits, to malevolent entities, and all of this wild, crazy stuff that we often blow off as fantasy. So the way that I see it is that our physical reality, or material reality, whatever you want to describe it as, is sort of like one face of the cube. And the cube itself is consciousness. There are many different faces, many different experiences of consciousness, which are all very, very foreign to one another. So for example, in this dimension, or this face of consciousness, we have all of these constructs such as matter, time, space, form, and all of these different things that create this experience of consciousness, that create this universe that we are experiencing right now. But in other dimensions, these dimensions don't have these constructs, right? They don't have space, they don't have time, they don't have matter, they don't have materiality, because these other faces of this cube are energetic in nature. With that said, it's not something that you necessarily travel to or you go to reach these places. It's already in your consciousness, and I believe you are vicariously existing in these spaces as well. That's why I see this metaphor more as a cube, because instead of traveling to another dimension, per se, it's more about rotating that cube of consciousness and illuminating a different dimension where you start experiencing something different or otherworldly while you are right here as well. So we do vicariously exist in these different realms, and within these realms of consciousness there are many different spirits and entities and things out there which have all sorts of agendas and all sorts of you could say personalities. Like, the thing is, we think our world or our universe is a very diverse place with a lot of consciousness and a lot of energy and a lot of different things happening. But when you go into these other realms, you realize that it's a pretty similar dynamic. So duality does exist in these other dimensions as well. So duality, of course, exists here. This is why we have contrast. This is why we have A and B, we have distance, we have polarity, we exist in a realm of polarity, so to speak. And in these other dimensions, they might not have as much duality, so to speak, as we do have here, but they do definitely have duality. That's why you have these constructs of light and darkness and individuality of consciousness. That's how souls exist as individuals, because duality exists. But the further you go into this cube, or the further you seep down into these different dimensions, there is what I see a core to this cube, or the core of all existence, you could say. And in this core, there is no duality. So this core is what we might understand as God, or the collective consciousness. Or again, every religion, every belief system has a different term or idea of this thing, but essentially we're all depicting the same thing, that it's everything, essentially it's totality. There is no separation, there is no distance, there is no light, no darkness, no up, no down, no separation whatsoever, no ego. So in this space of consciousness, everything just is as a collective energy. There are no labels, there are no differences, and there are no constructs of like good or bad or all these different things. But in these other dimensions, such as the astral planes, such as our dimension, we do have these constructs because there is contrast, facilitated by duality. And when you have contrast, this means that you have a range of different experiences, or a range of different experiences can be had. And not only can we experience individuality, experience separation from the collective, but we can also be dark, we can also be light, we can also be anything in between, neutral. So these other dimensions, in this sense, aren't so different. So there are many, many individual souls that exist in these dimensions. Of course, they're not incarnated in the sense that we understand. It's not like for a soul to come here, we need to incarnate into a physical container that we might understand as like the body, or a plant, or a bug, or whatever it is. So something needs to contain the soul. the form of consciousness. That is one of the rules of this dimension, is that if you want to incarnate here and experience this existence, you need a physical container, you need a body to experience it. But in these other dimensions, you don't need a body. So there are many more expressions of consciousness because it's not as limited as we might experience here. For example, if you are a human, you are a human. So even though we're all different, of course, we are all individuals and we all have our own intentions and desires and personalities and souls, you could say, we're still human. So we still operate on this fundamental framework of being a human being. We still have ultimately the same needs and desires and things, the same base level, because we are the same species. But spirits or entities or souls in these other planes of consciousness, they don't have this universal framework that we share here. So in these places, you find that there is even more diversity of experience, more diversity of different entities, what they can be. And again, when you start going into these realms and experiencing these things, you'll find out very quickly that there is a lot of weird stuff out there, right? So there are entities and spirits in all shapes and forms and pretty much anything you can imagine. But most people don't acknowledge that there are also many, many neutral entities as well. And a neutral entity, like humans, many of us are neutral. We're just going about our lives, doing our own things, trying to get by. We don't really have any, we might not necessarily lean towards darkness or lean towards light. Many of us, we're just doing our own thing. We're just trying to get by. So you could say, okay, we're neutral. We don't really have any affiliation with anything. We're just living our lives. We want to be left in peace. So it's really quite the same with entities as well. Many of them are neutral. They don't really have any desire. It's not like they really want to help you. They don't really want to harm you either. They just sort of, they might be curious if you pop into their realms. So many of these entities out in these realms, they don't have an intention necessarily, or they're just working. They're doing their own things. I can't pretend that I understand what's happening in these realms or how they work, but I do believe that these different entities and spirits, they do have work, which probably looks very different to what we understand as work here, but they're doing things, right? They have a role, they have responsibilities, they have a purpose or a mission, and they have a dharma, and they're sort of just doing their own things. So they don't really care about you, and many of these entities that you witness or you see will sort of fall into this category. They don't really care about you, they don't know what you are, or maybe they do know what you are, but they just don't really care. They've got better things to do than pay you attention. And often when you start working in these realms, you start experiencing a lot of these neutral entities. And you'll know that they're neutral because you won't be able to get a read from them. So you won't, often when you encounter a spirit, you will have this intuitive feeling that will either be very positive or very dark. So intuitively, most of the time at least, you know whether something is good or bad, because you'll just get this deep sense of knowing. There's a very strong feeling, and often spirits of light, they manifest as light as well. So again, nothing really has a form, but they do manifest in different forms when you perceive them or when you see them. So spirits of light, they often have light coming out of them, or they have some sort of features of light, or they have something that you can see or perceive or understand that, okay, this is love, this is compassion, this is generosity, and it's all of these high vibrations that you start getting from these entities when you encounter them. When you encounter a dark entity or a dark spirit, it will be the opposite. So suddenly you'll just start feeling this heavy dread, right? It will start just feeling really dark. For people who aren't too experienced, such as myself, I'm not super experienced with going into these realms. So when I encounter a dark entity, it's quite scary for me because I don't really know how to handle myself. I'm not advanced with astral projection or shamanic pursuits and these sort of things. I've only been doing this for a couple years, so I still don't really know how to handle myself when I encounter dark entities. Of course, I know the theory, but I haven't really successfully done it or put it into practice. A big part is because I don't often encounter dark entities. Usually my experiences are positive, but sometimes I do, and usually it's quite scary. But for me, at least, I start getting this visceral sensation that something's wrong. So I shouldn't be here. I start feeling dread. I start feeling like I'm in a really bad place and I just shouldn't be here. And often, like, I might start hearing voices, or I'll start feeling like movement in the space, or I'll just have this sense that there is a presence there with me. I do believe that it's quite a universal sensation that if something dark is there, then you'll feel it, right? Like, you get a sense that there is some sort of dark entity there. So first, I want to break that down for you so you know that, like humans, there is a lot of diversity and a lot of polarity in these realms as well, that with different spirits it's not so linear as being light or dark. It's not even so linear as being light or dark or neutral, because everything has a different intention. Like, you might have mischievous spirits that might be assholes. They might not necessarily be dark, but they might be assholes, and they might just play around with you or trick you or vicariously cause some harm to you without necessarily intending to do it. Think of it like, I don't know, schoolyard bullies or people who are just like playing bad pranks or something on you. Like, they're not necessarily trying to harm you, they're just sort of dumb and they don't realize that their actions have consequences. So you do meet spirits like this as well, that, you know, like, they're not bad necessarily, they're not evil, but they might play tricks with you. You might have other spirits that are generally quite good, but if you cross the line, then they'll make it known and they could harm you. I guess the same way that, you know, generally positive people who are happy and helpful might snap. If you are provoking them, they might snap and punch you in the face. You know, you can have similar things. So there's a lot of diversity. Every spirit has its own personality. Every spirit has its own desires and intentions and goals and whatever. Like, they're all unique individuals. The same way that every human is a unique individual. But as you tend to veer more towards either the paradigm of light or the paradigm of darkness, this is where, I guess, it starts to become more pronounced. So when a being is going further towards the light, and they exist in paradigms of light, you start to see some pretty profound commonalities. So, for example, angels are examples of beings who are very, like, far into the paradigm of light. So you could say that they're even enlightened entities, or like there's a lot of different entities that exist in this paradigm of light. It's not just angels, of course. There's many different things out there. But often you see the commonalities. So they will never cause harm. They will always be there to serve God, to help you. And they only want the best for everything. They want to encourage life. They want to heal. They want to help. That's why these spirits are often healing spirits, healing entities, or they have some sort of like responsibility in this spiritual framework to create good, to create some sort of desired results and help, essentially. So when you feel, or when you contact these entities, usually, at least in my experiences, they try and heal you, as long as you're open to it, because they often respect your boundaries as well. But they will try to heal you, or they will be open to healing you. And often, for example, they'll like reach into your chest and pull out like black stuff. Often when they're healing you, it manifests as taking out black. So for some reason, it's like this black goo. Often I see this when there's a spirit like reaching into me, or be taking out this black gooey stuff, or when like some sort of humanoid being is there, or some sort of octopus. Like, there's a lot of strange things out there, and they all take different shapes and forms and things. But often when they're good, they'll have the same intention, which is to heal you. And you'll have the same feeling, which is love. You'll feel good. You'll feel happy in their presence. You'll know that this being is of the light, that it is here to serve, that it is, that it is a being of light, and you have nothing to fear, and that you are protected, you are in a good space, and that you feel at peace. These are quite universal feelings when you encounter beings of light. But dark spirits, essentially they feed off you, right? So think of it as low vibrational energy is a beacon for dark spirits. So if you are going through some really dark point of your life, such as maybe you lost someone close to you, maybe you are mourning, maybe you have a lot of anger, maybe you have a lot of trauma, the most wounded people are the lowest hanging fruit for these entities. They are the biggest targets because they are vulnerable, they are exposed, they don't know how to energetically shield themselves, and light essentially is a repellent to darkness. So people who are very good, who have a lot of experience going into these realms, into the shamanic realms and into alternate dimensions of reality, their best way to counter these dark spirits is to just feel love towards them. And when you feel love towards these spirits or these dark entities, usually you will scare them away. because they might try to overpower that love and make you feel fear or make you feel worried. So, it reduces your vibration and you become a target for them. But, people who are very advanced at this and who have a high vibration, they're protected by their vibration because they are radiating light, and these spirits want nothing to do with the light because they are very, very lost. They are very far from God, so to speak, which means that they exist in darkness. Light is a threat to them. They exist in these realms of suffering, of torture, of hatred, of darkness. And anything that is associated with light or a high vibration, they want nothing to do with, because that will transmute them. When you are suffering, you are providing dense energy. You are sort of outletting all of this low vibrational energy, which is sort of like food to dark entities. So this is what they feed off, and the more low vibrational energy you feel, the more of a meal you are. So, for example, if you are going through some really dark patch in your life, and I don't know, maybe it's starting to get dark, you're doing bad things, then you become a target for these dark entities that will want to manipulate you or hurt you or use you essentially to fulfill their desires. So sometimes dark energies, they latch onto you, which we understand as spiritual attachment or entity attachment. And, some extreme cases of this can evolve into possession, like full-blown possession where someone's possessed by an entity, often when they are feeling threatened. And the reason why an entity will attach to someone is because they're low vibrational and they're a constant source of food, constant source of low vibrational energy that they can sustain themselves off. So that is why people, sometimes like entities will attach to people because, it sustains them. But they will only attach to people who are going through shit or in a low vibrational state. They won't be able to attach to people who are in paradigms of love and gratitude and compassion and feeling great. So your best defense against these entities is to feel love. I know it can be easier said than done. Like, here's the theory, of course, this is a life journey. It can be hard to reconnect with these states of love and gratitude and happiness if, you've had a difficult life, you have a lot of trauma. But that should be the goal, to experience more high vibrational energies that are associated with God energy, so to speak, or Jesus energy, or however you want to put it, light energy. And this will repel essentially anything that is dark. This will protect you, and it will allow nothing to get a hold of you or to manipulate you, because nothing will want anything to do with you. You're not a meal. Like, they have nothing to gain from being around you, so they're going to move towards someone who's a more low-hanging fruit that they can get. So the way I've been told by different shamans that I've worked with in the past is that a dark spirit, essentially, imagine a dark spirit like having a straw. They'll try and suck that good low vibrational energy out of you if you are experiencing it. And this is why they will start messing with you or attaching to you or creating problems in your life, because they want you to create more of it, more and more low vibrational energy. So the biggest fuck you can give a dark spirit is to maintain your composure, maintain your state of love, maintain your state of bliss, and not allow the fear to get to you, not allow the dread to get to you, not allow this darkness to get to you. Because if you can maintain this state of positivity, of high vibrational energy, then nothing will be able to harm you. In fact, if you have some sort of attachment or some sort of spirit that's attached to you, if you can raise your vibration, which will often be hard, don't get me wrong, because of course these spirits will try and make you not raise your vibration. They'll cause more problems in your life and exacerbate things so that you don't experience this. But if you can overpower that and work towards feeling more high vibrational energy, then you will become an unsustainable source of energy for the spirit. If you can raise your vibration enough through healing, through, maybe seeking certain specialists or people who can work with you, or just doing a lot of spiritual practice and things like that, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through prayer. It's important to be aware that not everything is dark, of course. There's a lot of good things out there. There's a lot of neutral things out there that don't really want anything to do with anything. And of course there are a lot of deities and things out there as well, which are very powerful spirits, you could say, who often they have their own personalities. And you might be able to, for example, if you connect with a deity, let's say in the Hindu religion, Maybe it will give you some gifts and power and knowledge and things. It might have some consequences as well. Often it's not necessarily good or bad, but it's like you connect into this unique energy or entity that has its own personality, that has its own identity, that will give you gifts or, I don't know, treat you accordingly, depending on who you are, depending on what it wants. So again, it's a complicated world. Try not to view spirituality and like spirits and things as so linear, because there are a lot of helpful spirits out there, there's a lot of healing spirits out there, there are also a lot of dark spirits out there, because any realm that has duality, any realm that there is distance or polarity or contrast, there will always be darkness. Likewise, there will always be light, and this is sort of the foundation for the ongoing spiritual war of light versus darkness, that this is a construct that pervades, every level of reality essentially, except the God level, because there is no duality there. If you are tapping into these realms of consciousness where you are starting to see more crazy things out there, then just try and hold your center. Try and do what you can to bring your vibration closer towards states of love, closer towards states of gratitude, and closer towards states of compassion, because in my understanding, these are the three essential pillars of a high vibrational life, of being high vibrational essentially. And they are all three of these, they're different energies, but they are all very powerful light energies. So love arguably is the most powerful light energy we can experience. We could say this is every human's dharma, to experience unconditional love. And if we get to that state, like we probably like blend into God and there is no duality anymore. That's probably what, again, I say probably because I don't know exactly, but I would say that is what enlightenment is. It's complete unconditional love and collective, like a submergence into the collective consciousness of God, of everything, where there is no separation. Yes, but like if you do see dark spirits, just try and project love towards them. I know this is hard, this is extremely hard to do, especially if you're not very experienced, but try to project love. Try to actually help them, knowing that a dark spirit is a wounded entity. Like even a demonic entity, because demons do exist as well. Like demonic entities, hellish realms, they do exist. Unfortunately, these facets of consciousness do exist, at least on some level of reality. But a demonic entity, as we see as like the darkest beings out there, the just embodiments of pure darkness and hatred and misery, which essentially they are, but it all comes from a wound. It all comes from disconnection with God. It all comes from being lost, essentially. So this is the way we really need to perceive it, that a dark entity is essentially just lost. The darker they are, the more lost they are, and it might take more work to send them to the light, to heal them, to help them transmute and get out of this cycle of existence that they are experiencing, because, you think of it from their perspective, it can't be fun. Like, it can't be fun to be a demon. It can't be fun to exist in these states of hatred and just torment and like, it's got to suck to be a demon. So think of it in this way, that these beings, at least from a spiritual perspective, they need help. It's not necessarily like, oh, we need to destroy them, we need to kill them, because that's, it's not going to work. You're more just fighting fire with fire if you have that approach. That doesn't work. You need to smother the fire with water. And in this case, you need to send them love, you need to try and help them, and you need to hold your ground. So for example, if you come into contact with one of these spirits and you're out in the cosmos somewhere, whether it's during a plant medicine experience, whether you are, again, astral projecting, then just hold this position of love. Try not to let them affect you, even though they will try, and just radiate good energy. Ask them how you can help. Ask them if you want to help, if they want to be helped by you, or if they are ready to discontinue this tormenting cycle of existence, because I believe that every being eventually will end that cycle. Maybe it's a longer path for some, maybe they will become darker, but like lost spirits and things as well, I think they just want to be out of that, but they just don't know how. But imagine if that was you and you died and you're stuck in these places, then like you'd probably just want it to end as well. You wouldn't want to become dark. I think becoming dark is a result of what's happening to you, of being lost, from being disconnected from God, from your trauma, from all these things. Like, I don't think anyone wants to become dark. I don't think anything wants to become dark. It's a result. It's a result of their consciousness, of their life condition, of whatever's happening. and they eventually become that way, or the soul becomes that way. It becomes tormented and twisted and destroyed, and that is where a dark entity is born. So try and see it through this frame, that a dark entity needs to be helped. If it is within your capabilities or your potential and you can help these dark entities, then of course do it. I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's good karma and everything to help these dark entities and transmute them, so they can't hurt other people first, and just so you're breaking them out of that cycle of torment. But if maybe if that's a step above you and you're not quite there yet, you don't know how to help them, then just try and maintain your ground. If you see these entities, just try and hold love, just try and hold gratitude, try and just feel more of it and thank God for being there. Some people rely on Jesus, which it does work actually. If you call on the power of Jesus, that does also work. But let me tell you, it's not necessarily the energy of Jesus, it's more the belief system of Jesus, because your beliefs are very powerful. So if you believe that someone or something is protecting you, then you are going to feel protected. And this is something that a very powerful shaman told me. We had a conversation over this for like an hour, and he was telling me, because I was telling him about some of my experiences where I was going into these dark, scary places and seeing all these dark entities, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to see it anymore. First, it's like anyone going into these spiritual realms and on this shamanic journey, you will start seeing these dark things as just, these realms have duality. You're naturally going to see it. You can't just only see the light and not see the darkness. But also, like, if you're feeling stuck and you're in these spaces, just cultivate a belief that something is working. A lot of people use Jesus or the symbol of Jesus because they believe that he is protecting him, so it actually does create this protective field. Likewise, if like shamans, they often wear these belts, right? So when they are working in ceremonies and there are people purging, and they're working around the fire, they're wearing belts so they don't take on any of these energies. So energy does sort of work through symbolism, but he said what's more important than this is that they believe that the belt is working. So just the belief that they are wearing this protective fabric that is helping them ward off dark spirits or dark energies, or the purge of other people, like when people are vomiting, the purge, energetically you purge, so you don't want to take that on either. And they have this strong enough belief that they're protected by this, that nothing can harm them. They feel safe, and dark spirits don't even try, because they know that this belief system acts as like a shield. It protects them. So with that said, that's really all I want to say in this video about like dark spirits and entities in general. And I'm not gonna keep rambling on about this out of fear of repeating myself 100 times like I already have in this video. So if you have any questions about dark spirits or anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out or leave a comment, ignite some discussion about this. Maybe we can bounce different ideas about there's different things we've seen in these realms, what we can do in certain situations. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you and take care of yourself. I will see you in the next video.